This is the Simpit. I'm your host, Shaun Cole, but the real star of today's show is you, because you're here for the Friday edition of the Pitstop, and I am here with a very special co-host, our special co-host, Billy Strange. How you doing, Billy?
Good, how are you?
I am pretty excited. As you can hear, my intro is a little enthusiastic there. We're here for Friday, and this is
the week.
Episode 1. I meant to put that in the title even. This is Episode 1, or Version 1, of the Friday edition of the Pit Stop, which is going to be a little different than the Monday and Wednesday edition. It's going to be hosted by me and Billy Strange, and we're going to go ahead and go into some sim racing discussion and involve the comments from the community as much as possible, instead of just making it a news show. So Monday and Wednesday will be a rapid fire through all the news. Today we're just going to pick our favorite stories, and with it being so close to the holidays, there's not a whole lot to talk about in sim racing today. So we're going to start today's show, and I'm going to hand things over to Billy here with just a little bit of what do you got going on? What are you doing in sim racing right now, keeping you excited?
Well, right now, I have, let's see, this week in R Factor 2, I started out doing one thing in R Factor 2, which was a suggestion by somebody is trying the classic Grand Prix stuff. And then I ended up finding that MacCorp ended up producing version 1.0 of their Group C mod. So I played a little bit of that, liked that, actually put out a review on that on my channel. And then from there, I jumped to the Chili Bowl from iRacing and turned a handful of laps with some of my Discord peeps the other night, and that was fun. It's pretty tricky. The base setup is a little too hooked up, in my opinion, so we were kind of messing around with the setup a little bit. That was a good time. And then apparently I just got word from our friend over that does the Crew Chief app that he just put my spotter pack in. So if you have the Crew Chief app, you can actually go download right now the new sound pack, and it'll have me in there calling out some left and right side, don't hit anybody kind of stuff.
That is all. I have had a million people tell me to get Crew Chief app, and I have yet to do it. And you being the voice in the Crew Chief, that is enough motivation for me. That'll be my new Crew Chief pack.
Great. This is now I can just hear myself all the time. This is wonderful.
Was it fun? I mean, this is kind of cool. So, I mean, like, how many, did they give you a list of like 1,000 or 100, things like, here, you need to say this or something just like this? Or
so he has a basic outline of what to do, and then he says to make it sound natural, say it a handful of different ways, and there's no like specific way to say it, but as long as you convey the thing that you need to. So like on an oval, clear high, one on your outside, that kind of thing. So you can say these things multiple ways, and the app will actually, kind of, for lack of a better term, randomly say different phrases. And apparently he's working on, I'm not going to say what he's working on because I don't know if he wants me to say it, but he's working on something else that I could actually add to it at a later date. So yeah, people kept asking me, and he had mentioned it before, and I'm like, really, does anybody really want this? But apparently at least, 5 or 6 people do. So but I did the work and I put it in there. 7. Okay, 7. Sweet. That's all I needed was 7.
So my favorite one, of course, is when I finish the race and my crew chief is like, "Oh, you did great today." Did you do one of those as well?
No, that is limited to the actual crew chief itself.
Okay.
So I don't get any of those phrases. All my phrases are centered around the actual doing the spotter work.
Right. That's right.
Like
it is slightly different.
Yes, but he said he is working on something else that can probably bridge the gap, for lack of a better term.
Awesome. So, very cool. That is awesome.
So what about you? What have you been messing with?
With all the stuff coming out, you'd think I'd be doing a lot of driving for fun, but I've actually spent more time working on hardware this week. So it's all been about testing. I've got a handbrake, the Thrustmaster handbrake, sequential handbrake. I've been playing with that a bunch. Been playing with the SH8 shifter. I've been playing with a mystery seat. It's really not much of a mystery, but I have a mystery seat that people have been hearing and seeing me use. And yeah, so it's just been really hardware intensive as I'm trying to crank out some reviews. So even though I get to do some driving, I'm so focused on the hardware that it's not about lap times or anything other than the hot lap hump day that we did in the Mazda at Tsukuba, which was good fun. But yeah, it's been a
Nice.
good fun week for sure. Absolutely.
Sweet.
So I guess that takes us to news. You want to get us
Yes.
going here today?
Hey, Sean,
I will start
Yes,
us
Brandon.
rolling.
I was going to mention that Viking Elite was nice enough to drop a super chat donation. Said Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry
Oh,
Christmas
Merry Christmas.
to everybody.
Thank
Come
you.
on, getting in on the donation. Thank you for that. And in case you are wondering, that is Brandon Waters, our producer, just keeping me and Billy in check and on time and everything like that. So, all right, Billy, let's get going with this.
Well, since you've done the pit stop on Wednesday, R Factor 2 has released a couple little goodies. They've released well, I'll just quote it here. Time for another world first. The R Factor or RF Challengers pack will feature the brand new McLaren F1. No, McLaren. They've got their tag in there as F1. So McLaren 720S GT3. So there's that. And then today they announced the Aston Martin Vantage GT3. And so that brings, and then their final thing, it brings the field to a stunning 15 cars. But in this pack, you now have the McLaren, the Audi, the Porsche, the BMW, and the Aston Martin Vantage, and it will be available tomorrow.
That is awesome. That is going to be fun. So now we know what everyone's going to be doing this weekend.
Yes. Oh, thanks, Mike. Merry Christmas. Yeah, just gave us a 279.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Mike. Awesome.
That's very nice of you. Thank you.
Today, we also have, it's sort of a spy photo in a weird way. You know, we talk about Simpit and GTR3. Well, little holiday wishes from them. Wishing you all very happy Christmas from everyone at Simbin UK. And I don't think I'd normally cover or show a post quite like this, other than that, unless it was GTR3, because it's something that we're all anticipating and waiting for. So a little happy holidays there from the Simbin team.
It looks nice, too. I mean, again, we have no idea what this thing is really going to be, because I don't think they've announced anything officially, like any series or anything, but we've seen two cars, the BMW and now the AMG.
It's like, you know, it's one of those things we just see enough for it to be a pulse, enough of there is a breath of life there, you know, when everyone's just wondered, will there be a GTR3, so to speak? And it's like, now there's just enough evidence and life out of Simbin that you know, yes, in fact, it is in the works. And, you know, you look at the car modeling, it's well underway, apparently.
Yeah, so I hope they come out with actually something substantial in the first quarter of 2019 as far as giving us some decent information. Since they've given us these little teases and we got that announcement a long time ago, it'd be nice to know what's actually going to happen with this thing.
Yeah, it's been relatively quiet. I mean, we really don't know much of anything other than the title and, like you said, the two cars we've actually seen. That's it. That's all we get.
Yeah, that's all we get. No more. You only get two cars for this game. That's it.
It's going to be
competizione, this thing.
The best two cars ever, but it's only two cars.
All right, on to the next part of the news. Codemasters in Dirt Rally put out another roadbook. They also had a couple live streams. One of them was planned, one of them was a surprise, but the surprise was really like a recap of the live stream. But what I found interesting was, first they talked about, there was some confusion about how their road degradation was going to happen, and they made it sound like it was in blocks. And it's not. It's actually very progressive. It's got like 150 steps to the degradation process that it goes through over the course of, you know, a stage. So they wanted to clarify that. It will also build rubber on tarmac stages in certain areas. So wherever the car compresses, where it goes off the road, it'll actually dip into the dirt and cause like a little divot or something like that. So it sounds cool in that aspect. Then they demoed 3 cars. The most notable was the Porsche, and they put the Porsche on hard tires. Not sure why, because the car looked like it was in the Fast and the Furious, just drifting everywhere. And it's kind of like, I thought this was supposed to be a high performance rally spec car or hill climb. I don't know. It looked very, it looked like drifting fans would really enjoy it. So I'm not sure why they didn't use soft tires. I don't know if it's that big a difference between the soft and the hard, or if they have some issues going on with the physics on tarmac again. It makes me a little nervous. The other two looked fine. Yeah, I don't know if that was the right way to show off how a car handles for them. I think that did more harm than good, but that's just me.
I just, it's like, well, gosh, 150 points of changes in terrain, or stages of it, that you'd think they'd not have to go to hard tires. So, and the other thing, I think rally, dirt rally is stage race. So it's like that theoretically means that if you're first on the board, you're going to see a completely different version of the same course than the guy who was last. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's the idea. So that's pretty cool.
I want to thank Scuderia. Just saw another super chat donation come in. Thank you very much. We're loving the Friday show as well. It's a lot of fun.
Yes, thank you.
So, that's cool. I mean,
very generous of everybody.
It is.
Community.
I noticed they're also doing 5 T-shirt giveaways. It looks like. So go to their Twitter #Dirty Winter, and that'll put you in the running for a free T-shirt before January 4th.
There you go.
I'd like a Dirt Rally T-shirt.
I would take 2.
Same.
Well, we should all enter. Maybe we can win.
They're
giving away 5. So, all right. What else do we have? Kartcraft. Everybody's been pretty psyched on Kartcraft. Anyway, they did another update that is available on Steam as of the 19th. So this is immediately after the pit stop of last week. But with that, a few things and a big deal. One of them was AI. Isn't AI the big update in this version here?
Correct.
Including that they have their quick race game mode, up to 8 AI drivers, and the drivers are named. So it's been a while since I was in karting, so these names are sort of not huge. But a Bass, Gary Carlton, Lamar's, Lutches, Luciani, Pescador, Price, and Sarah. They also added some trackside cameras and replay, added floating player name tags for other drivers. That's something that we could have a whole discussion on. Things that are like gamey, that do you approve or disapprove. As much as I'm Michael Clark, thank you very much for Max and the crew. Thank you very much, Michael.
Very nice. Thank you very much, Michael.
But I dig the little titles over driver names. Like when we play Wreckfest, I turn it on, and of course when you're doing an iRacing or something, you usually don't see something like that. Anyway,
I think it's kind of fun if you have a way, especially like if you're a streamer or you do videos. I think if you do something with the community, I do think it's fun to kind of have those above so people know who you're racing against.
Yeah.
If you're having like a serious e-racing competition or something like that, then get rid of those things, because do we really need to know?
Well,
but I think if you're horsing around, I think it's fun. I think
acceptable.
It's cool to know. Yeah.
In addition to that, they added distance traveled and total lap statistics to the game. So anyway, big update to Kartcraft, and I heard it was on sale right now, 15% off, so you can actually get it $16.99.
I saw the update the other day, and then Doug was like, "Yeah, the AI's in there." I'm like, you know what? I'll go ahead and support him. This, everybody seems to be pretty cool on this one, so I went ahead and bought it, at the $20 price tag, and then forgot completely about the winter sale for Steam, and then it was like, oh, it's on sale. God damn it. That's okay. I don't mind. It's fine. I just was like, really?
$3.
I picked that time to buy it, but that's okay.
Oh, that's pretty.
And I think that brings us to the end of the news section before our esports section.
Yeah, and I guess we really haven't laid out our total format, just so people, in time people get comfortable. We do have a format, and it's going to be basically, starting off with what are we doing, what's going on in sim racing for us, followed by the news, and then moving into esport, because 2018, as we bring it to a close, was easily the biggest year in esport across the globe, but even more so for sim racing. and it's going to be a big part of sim racing for the foreseen future for sure. So we're going to be looking to find the biggest deals, the biggest topics in sim racing esport, and that'll be kind of like our next phase of the show. And every show we won't go into our whole layout and thinking, but yeah. So what do we have going on in esport today, Billy?
Oh, we've got a few things. First off, let me click on the right part here. Tyson, a member of our Discord community, let us know about RaceSpot is actually putting on a Chili Bowl Nationals. It's going to span 4 days, $6,100 purse. The winner, I think, if I read it right in the breakdown, gets like $2,200 or $2,500.
25 and some change, yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's 25 and some change. Limited to 240 participants. There is a $25 entry fee. This is, for the dirt people, this is pretty good. It's going to be really, really difficult because you don't do qualifying just like I couldn't remember if the actual Chili Bowl qualified or not, but they don't. They do a pill draw. And so it's going to be pretty difficult to make your way to the A on the final night. But RaceSpot's going to be covering it. It's going to get some good coverage there. So I don't know if I'm going to do it. That could be it could be it could be a lot of pacing laps.
You jumped ahead to my question, by the way. Of course, that was going to be my next question.
I want to do it, but being that I think in something like this, qualifying helps to a degree because you get to at least race with people that have your skill level, where doing a random draw, you could really get the short end of the stick. And I don't mean that for a guy at the back of the pack who ends up starting at the front and kind of makes his way just on luck. That's good for that person. And same thing with a good driver. They manage to work their way forward. But the guys in the middle of the pack are all kind of the ones that always get screwed, because if they get put in a heat with a bunch of fast guys, well, now they're going to run with the squirrels in, the lower mains. And so the guys in the middle really kind of get screwed. And so I don't know if I would have a very, very, very slim shot of making the A on Saturday night. So I'm still debating, but it sounds like a cool event either way.
It's going to be fun to watch. I mean, it's anytime you can get 240 sim racers in the same event, it ends up being a spectacle, one way or another. It's just, it's a massive undertaking doing something like that.
And Mitchie Hoyer is a crazy man.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mitchie.
Yes, thank you. What are you doing, buddy?
Thank you very much, Mitchie. Very much appreciated. And thank you.
Yeah. Happy holidays to everybody. Thanks. Thank you so much. That's very, very nice.
This is kind of our Christmas show, I guess.
Should have had a Santa hat. Damn it.
Wasn't even thinking. All right, well, also in the world of esport and also for iRacing, and it's sort of funny because I didn't think we'd actually be using the word esport and iRacing in the same sentence as soon as we are. But we are, and I've talked about this a little bit on the pit stop already, but a little breakdown, so a little cash payout breakdown, giving you an idea of kind of like the restructuring of the competitive side in terms of the money championship side of iRacing. But we know about the $100,000 for the Peak Antifreeze series that four-time Ray Alfala and others will be going after. We know about the $100,000 on the Porsche GT series that's now going to be, I do believe, the premier road series in iRacing.
They kind of make it look that way, don't they? I mean, there's been a little bit of murmuring and stuff about possibly not using the F1 car anymore.
Yeah,
but that wasn't, they've never said officially that they weren't going to do that, but having this as the $100,000 prize pool in a road racing event kind of makes it look like that's the direction they went.
Well, even if they kept it going, which I don't think they are, but okay, so you have $100,000 here for road racers in Porsches, and what would be $10,000 over here. Well, all these guys are going to go over there. These are the best drivers. The guys who are running the Formula One are the best road racers in iRacing.
They're going to put all the time into that.
Yeah, so it's sort of a no-brainer in that respect. But they're also going to have the Rallycross World Championship, $25,000 there. Late Model Championship, 25 grand there. Sprint Car Championship, World of Outlaw, Late Model World of Outlaw Sprint Car, 25,000. And the VRS GT World Championship with another 25,000 on the line. Which, you know, quick math, that's 300 grand right there. Dave Blair, speaking of quick math, Dave Blair, thank you. Thank you very much.
Very nice of you.
And, yeah, anyway, iRacing is going to have a ton of, you know, it's still different than ESport, though, funny enough. As much as they have their championships, it's so iRacing, so in the Fortress, so online, versus the other esports seem to be leaning towards creating some form of in-person competition. You know, filling up a stadium with drivers, you know, and a stage, and, you know, what we've seen in that respect. But big money. So if money is your criteria, they're all in.
Well, and you wonder how long, you know, I guess the point would be is that we've been asking for them to change. You know, they say they're the original esports of, you know, I guess on the auto racing side. So we've been asking them to kind of get with the times and up their prize pool. The difference is this more sustainable than renting out a big arena and flying all these guys out to a competition?
Sure.
You know, is this more sustainable because we're not asking you to do that? But does it not generate as much hype as putting everybody together in a, you know, in a setting where there is a bunch of TV crews and stuff like that interviewing people?
Right. Yeah.
The marketability of it.
Sure. And that's something, you know, and I don't think that's one of our discussions today. We might touch upon it, but the sustainability of esport across the board is something that I think is going to be reevaluated. I've seen articles talking about, you know, certain ways of thinking that way. And maybe this is coming in with a much more clear mindset, you know. And, you know, the nice thing also in our world is if you think about these series, iRacing has already learned how to broadcast these events online in an entertaining way as well.
Right.
So in some ways, in that respect, they're light years ahead, and again, a lot less operating costs for what could be the future viewership anyway.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but you know, good on them for trying to up the game. And I think all these companies are just going to keep pushing each other to a point, at least. I don't know how far this continues to go. I don't know how much money there is in this.
Right.
Know?
Yeah.
I don't know how much teams, you know, what the criteria to be on a team anymore is, how much money gets invested into that. Some teams, do you end up paying to be on there? You know, your ROI, I don't know how good that is.
Right.
You know, the only way this is going to work is if, and I think they might have mentioned it, but we kind of have to start paying down a little further on the board.
Yeah.
For the finishing. And if people aren't getting an ROI on it, like, you know, you look at Fernando Alonso and just you think about, why do you have an esports team?
Right.
In other words, just to say you have an esports team, like, so where's the monetary? He's not doing it just for the hell of it.
I think for him, part of it is
not competing.
The marketability of his brand name, I think, is part.
So,
I think it's more that than anything.
But what that equates to what? You know, dollars. So where do we go with that? Like, how much is it really worth? So that's just an interesting question that we might get to know the answer to later on down the line.
Well, and I think you're going to see certain versions of it dry up very quickly because maybe they went in so heavy in the beginning that they kind of blew their initial investment, didn't get enough return on investment to then get a second wave of financing, because anyone's looking at the books going, well, it didn't work. You need money already. It didn't work. MW, thank you for that. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you.
So much.
So, all right, we almost turned that into a whole topic there. Maybe we should move along because we have more to talk about.
That is all right. Well, I mean, this all kind of segues into each other.
Exactly.
Because there are two places. We're pulling this one off of motorsport.com. And it's why it's time to take the sim racing business seriously. And it is, after reading the article, I'm going to I don't mean this in a derogatory manner. I'm just saying that it's a little self-serving on the part of Duhan's part.
Yeah,
Is
the
that how you say
article's
his
by
name?
Dom Duhan.
Duhan?
I'm
Okay.
not sure. And for those who don't know, he's the team manager of Team Redline. He also works with Studio 397. He's a very known entity in sim racing for, decades at this point. I've known him for, probably 20 years, but he's been around and he knows a lot about what he's talking about, and he's involved with some of the higher ups in sim racing, obviously. So, all right, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You know more about this than I do in that aspect or respect. So he just goes on to say kind of what we've been talking about already. He rolls it back when sim racing and competitions were in their infancy, and he's going back to, he cites, he was earning 50 pounds a week driving in wire play Toka 2 tournaments. I mean, that's a while ago.
Yeah.
He's citing stuff in the 2000s, Grand Prix legends. So he just goes on to kind of cite all these things that have slowly been laying the foundation for esports. And it is an interesting article because he kind of covers the history of it all and kind of asks, what happened to the F1 games for a while, and then everything kind of fell away. And then all of a sudden we had the resurgence with GT Academy. Even though there wasn't a whole lot of money at stake, there was opportunities at stake. And so he just goes into now is like seeing a big renaissance, a big boom in sim racing being taken seriously, and that really companies and stuff need to get on board because we have auto manufacturers. Again, we talk about Fernando Alonso and those guys. Kevin Swindell actually just started a team on the dirt side, and he's looking to expand into the asphalt side as well. So you definitely have this thing exploding. And he doesn't really, it is an interesting article in that respect. He doesn't really do anything except try to sell you on the idea, which I feel is, like I said, a little self-serving, but he sells you on the idea that you should be taking this seriously. He hopes that the broader market in motorsports takes this seriously. So I don't know. What do you think? A, what do you think about the article? And then B, what he's, I guess, the point that he's trying to get to.
I think the article was actually really perfect for the audience because, again, this is, motorsport or auto sport who are both kind of getting into esport because, let's face it, the real life motorsport world is starting to see sim racing as an entity, whatever you want to call it. Let's just say it's an entity. And so now they're wondering,
sorry,
do we have...
Quick. Thanks to Twiggy.
Twiggy,
Merry Christmas. Yes, thank you very much. Merry Christmas. Thank you. I don't want to forget.
No, thank you for that. So yeah, I feel like since it's an article that's going out to the general motorsport world more than it's being written, like this isn't, posted at GT Planet or a conversation with us. This is going to general public motorsport fans. I think it's a really good article for them to understand why, as they start hearing and seeing motorsport, esport happening and wondering what is this NASCAR heat and why are people getting paid $100,000? Or more importantly, and I was going to pose this question to you in my thoughts, but no, so I thought it was a really good article in that respect. And yeah, and it's okay maybe to be a little self-serving because it was kind of a promotion for the entire industry as a whole.
Sure.
Naming some of his favorites, of course. But then I also look at it wording-wise and I think, okay, so you're a father. If your kid came to you and said, hey, I want to be an esport racing champion, when I think of it as like, is this something that you have to take seriously? Well, funny enough, Billy Strange, you're a perfect person to ask this question. You've raced real cars and you know what it takes to go to spend money versus become a pro. You've also, you're in a band. So you know the odds game on the likelihood of certain careers, whether it be being in a band, being a race car driver, being an actor. I kind of put them all in the same group. Like your odds of success in those three industries, I think, are almost identical. And there's no rhyme or reason sometimes for who succeeds and who fails. But is it a realistic career goal? So if I'm taking sim racing business seriously, I'm looking at it, and to me, I'm a couple key words, seriously in business, but is it a career? Is it a career as a driver? Is it a career as a coder or engineer, you know, and so that's kind of what I take away from this, and the wording and the, you know, being such a headline nation that we are, you know, where people read the headline, not the article. And so I just wonder, you know, the impression being made on parents, and is it a serious business? Is that a viable goal for a child?
I think that, well, I think we have a couple different points to hit on there. As a father, if my, you know, if my son or daughter wanted to go, I want to be a sim racer. In relative terms, it's easier. I don't have to travel. I do have to spend a little bit of money, which I would say is less than what I've spent just on my karting stuff. You know, I think I spent, oh crap, I bought an engine, 125 shifter. I know this is at the upper end of the spectrum, but I don't want to go slow, so I have to do that. Anyway, so I bought, you know, I got myself a 125 shifter, and I bought a new engine and then a used roller for the cart, and then I bought spares. So I probably spent $8,000 to $10,000 on that, right? You know, I can spend less than half of that on a pretty nice rig. Everything that would really get them going. A nice monitor, you know, we could talk VR, whatever the specs you want to talk about. And then the unlimited practice time that you get in a sim is both detrimental and valuable at the same time. Detrimental in the fact that you could always be spending time there and just you could burn yourself out. But on the other hand, you can develop quicker. You know, one of the hardest things in motorsport is not being able to just practice in most of it. Pardon me, not getting to practice as much as you want. I mean, I'm going to take sprint cars as a bit of an extreme example, but there's really no place to practice. You literally show up to the track and you get to run 3 or 4 practice laps before you got to go out and qualify. That's it. So all of your experience is race-based. And if you're new and you're trying to absorb that, that's pretty tough. Now, with karting, not so much these days, but back in the day, you used to be able to test a lot, but that cost a lot of money. So there's a lot of aspects to sim racing that make it much more appealing. The stigma that comes with it, though, is the problem. And do a lot of parents, and in my experience, and I'm not saying this to be a misogynistic pig, but women tend to see video games, and however much we want to explain that this isn't a video game, it is, but there is a different level to this. That video game part comes out and it's like, well, you're just trying to be a kid. You're just sitting in front of the TV. And even though it's more acceptable now, there still is that stigma. I don't know if we're totally past that part of it yet, where you're just playing a game. What do you mean you can earn money? And how much work would the kid have to do to show the parents, like, no, look, this is legit? You know, I don't know. There's all those factors involved. I would do it because I understand, you know. I don't know that a parent that's not into motorsports and not into video games would understand that. And
sure, you coming from both backgrounds, you see the viability, and it's like, well,
right.
If you had the skills, and it wouldn't take years and it wouldn't take millions of dollars to find out, if you have the skills, you'll be running in that Porsche GT series on iRacing inside of 12 months if you have the skills. And then if you can win it, well, now you're professional. If you can't, well, enjoy working at the supermarket. And if you want to finance your career goal on the side, so be it.
Well, and that gets in. And before we go any further, thanks, Mr. Ortner. That is very generous of you again. Thank you very much,
George. Thank you. Merry Christmas, buddy.
And again, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody. I just because I won't see anybody before that holiday happens. But I think the larger question runs to what I was talking about earlier. Is now I have to look at, you mentioned myself as a musician twice. I got close to being signed a long time ago, back in my early 20s, to a couple different labels. I was on an independent label, And you look at how hard it was, and that was at the time where the genre of music that I was playing was kind of booming, especially from the area that I was in. Like everybody was kind of, record companies kind of do that. They pick from these areas. Oh, one band was famous from there. Now we're going to go get 5 from there because you all kind of have that same sound.
Yeah, it became like the hotbed.
Yeah, so I was from an area that people were getting pulled from, bands were getting pulled from frequently. And even that, we still didn't get signed. And I would say that we weren't as good as some of the other ones that did. And then we were better than some of the ones that did. So you're playing a little bit of luck. It's no different than trying to become a Formula One driver or a NASCAR driver. Even trying to get yourself onto the dirt side, World of Outlaws, that kind of stuff. It's a little bit of luck, a lot of talent. And what is luck? Preparation meets opportunity. So... and we're getting to esports, you probably have a better chance, especially if they widen that prize pool. If they can widen the prize pool to not just focus on the very, very top and give everybody a little bit more of a chance, especially since you don't have the overhead that you do with an actual going out to a track.
Right.
It might be a bit more viable that way.
Sure, Formula One pays enough to the last place team to make it still a worthy venture, for the most part, to continue doing it. If iRacing's only paying 3 positions out, then it's only a viable solution for 3 people.
And that's the problem.
And if it's chump change just to get something for your return on your investment, at least is in the right direction if you're in 20th place. Or, look at NASCAR. They pay all the way to the last place, I do believe, right? Or I don't know the final cut point, but...
Well, you had the start and park guys, right?
Yeah.
It was more viable for them to go out, make 2 or 3 laps, and then park the car.
Yep.
Get their start money.
Yep.
So there are things like that. I'm just saying that in some respect, we might have a broader audience that can be included in this. The only problem becomes if the same guys go and win everything.
Right.
Because unlike motorsport, most guys, especially nowadays, it's a little different in the last handful of years, but for a long while, you didn't get cross between motorsport genres. Or back in the day, you did.
Right.
So you had AJ Foyts and Clarks and stuff like this. Go where Mario Andretti, go wherever they needed to go to get the money.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, you're more of an investment. We lock you down into a series. Now sponsors become a bigger thing. So if we go down the road of so-and-so is sponsored, let's say Enzo is sponsored for a certain series. Does that keep him in that series? Well, if it does, then it benefits other people that can go run other series, right?
Right.
But if there's nothing to keep him in that series, and he's good enough to go other series and start taking all of the top-end prize money, it becomes, right? And we don't want to limit somebody like that because they obviously have the talent, but what it does is it also discourages people from doing what? Participating. And once participation numbers go down, especially in social media now, everything's on fire, it's the building's burning down and everybody's caught inside, and it's a cycle that repeats itself.
No, that's very relevant right there, because in real life motorsports, let's just say that, and I'm not making this statement, let's just say Lewis Hamilton, the multi-time Formula One champion, is arguably the best driver on planet Earth. Arguably. And let's just use that as an example, though. And let's just say that he decided, I'm going to go win NASCAR, I'm going to go win this, I'm going to go win this, and he somehow is able to compete in all of the biggest series simultaneously, which in real life you cannot do for so many reasons.
You might be able to do 1 or 2, but to do all of them would be pretty difficult.
Yeah, but in the virtual world, it becomes a lot more feasible, and that you could have a ringer. The other thing that we're already seeing, and is a difficult hurdle that sim racing or esports sim racing is going to have, is you have drivers who are already with teams, and then you have organization bodies like Formula One coming in and putting their toes or mark on the esports series.
Sure.
Well, they could give a rat's ass about whatever pre-deals we all have with our teams, our friends, our leagues, our whatever, and they're going to be like, you want to be here? sign this. And they're not going to care. And NASCAR could be the same way as far as their growth in esport over the years. And again, so what happens to drivers who already have, I mean, you know, there are drivers who are on contract. I would dare say that the drivers who run with Redline are on contract with Redline. And I think that as money has become available over the last, it's not just this year. When you think about money, it dates back. I mean, iRacing's been paying out for the World Championship for, 8 years, I think. So, but that contract money is also part of those, the money is part of the contract as well. So anyway, there's going to be a lot of, again, this article, getting back to the article, sim racing business, that's all the business side. We all thought of this as a hobby, a game, something we just play with our friends online. But when you take it to that esports side of things, it is a business. And it will be treated that way with lawyers and contracts, not just handshakes and a Skype conversation. And that's where you get really out of control.
You have people see an opportunity to make money, especially where money is being already made. I already know that on the other side, and probably a little bit in sim racing already, is lawyers get involved and agents and this kind of thing. So it's just going to be interesting. Again, I agree with you on the article that it does a decent job at outlining to people that wouldn't normally read something like this why. I think it could have been presented a little differently so that it wasn't so like the history, because I don't think people care. I think what will care is why manufacturers are getting involved. Why are people paying $100,000 into a prize pool? Why? I mean, that's a lot of money. Why did people pay? Why did people pay? Or why was there $1 million on the line at Vegas? For what? Why? And those are the things I think that could have been talked about rather than kind of like, take it seriously. Come on, gosh darn it. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know. I feel differently on that.
Billy, you bring up a good point when you brought up Vegas. And for me, the biggest problem that I've seen so far with most of the esports stuff, especially the stuff that's got the most money behind it, be it Vegas or, the notoriety with like the McLaren events, is the fact that the execution hasn't been there when it's come to the money side of things. So I don't know if it's a lack of blending from the people that are smaller in the community that actually know how to produce a good show versus the people with the money coming in and trying to get their imprint on this fledgling thing. And I don't know if that's where some of the issues come in. But for me, for all the esports stuff that I've watched, it's been, it's glaringly evident when the production value is lacking, and it kind of makes it appear like it's a poor thing, or
it becomes toy-like.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, and that's part of the problem is in its infancy, we're going to make mistakes. But the problem is just like the Vegas, I hate to kind of beat a dead horse on that one, but the Vegas race did not do a good job at showcasing sim racing, in my opinion. The past McLaren Shadow deal that just happened a couple weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, that did not do a good job showcasing sim racing. I couldn't sit there and go to the track and show these guys, hey, dude, check this out. Like, look at what these guys are doing. I couldn't show them that. They would laugh. They would laugh me out of the garage area. Like, there's no way that I could do that. What needs to happen is, like, I think Gran Turismo does it good to a degree. They use fictitious cars, which kind of bugs me. So again, I could not show that to somebody seriously. But the F1 esports deal is a pretty good job. They, they have nice production. They have good commentators. It usually runs fairly hitch-free. I mean, you're going to have technical problems every once in a while. I don't think you can avoid that. But I think that it did for the people that are sim racers. I know we kind of cringe with the Codemasters F1 stuff, right? But it's a good.
We might have just lost Billy. All right, well, as Billy tries to regain the show here, I'm not sure. Brandon, you still here? Or is it me? I can't hear anybody at this point. Hey, speaking of technical glitches, Billy was talking about Visa Vegas and the technical glitches that various different series have had, but I'll just continue that thought. I'm not sure what is going or not. Billy's gone, but it looks like I'm still here. I might have lost my Discord because I don't hear Brandon either. But anyway, to finish that thought, or what Billy was going down the path of, is you think of the Visa Vegas and you think of the McLaren Shadow, and whether it be just collisions that don't look realistic, graphics packages that don't look inspiring, coverage that doesn't look realistic. Ooh, I just lost even more. But that presentation can have a huge impact. You think of Visa Vegas, and it never actually made a comeback. There was no Visa Vegas 2. You look at iRacing, though, with their World Championship Series and what they've done, and you know, they, with 10,000 on the line for year after year after year, NASCAR comes in and multiplies that by 10 with $100,000. Losing my Discord again. Hopefully, I know you still have my audio. Not sure where the video went now, but it looks like my Discord is completely failing us. So, anyway, but then you look at that, and they come in even stronger with $100,000. You look at the Porsche GT series. Well, you have to know or think or assume they were aware of iRacing. Billy, are you back? Oh, almost. And they're aware of what was going on with the Drivers' World Championship Grand Prix side of things on iRacing, and they're obviously happy enough with the results to go ahead and multiply that by 10 with $100,000 coming in with that Porsche GT series. So between those two things, it really does show you that in the right, and that kind of gets back to what Billy was touching upon earlier with iRacing, maybe at the lower overhead, not needing to do these big fancy online tournaments, working with online broadcasters instead of real life media, which is millions of dollars. Maybe that's one of those factors that might help the longevity. But I think it's clear to say, and as Dom Doohan put it in that article for Motorsport, it is time to take sim racing seriously as a business. And on so many different levels. I mean, obviously the sim manufacturers are making tons of money. The hardware guys who are doing it right are making tons of money. And beyond that, there's now the idea and concept that you could be a professional sim racer on top of it, or it could even lead to other opportunities in the future. But I think you can see that we've come a long way. If you've been doing this for decades, just like Dom wrote in this article, you could talk about TOCA, you could talk about Grand Prix legends, but we have come a long way since those days, and I think it's clear that the future is very bright for sim racing. It's not just a niche anymore, it's going mainstream. So with our technical glitches, I'm going to bring this show to the close. And but I want to thank Billy Strange for being here. I want to thank Brandon Waters for producing this from behind the scenes, just making sure your guys' comments are brought to us and that everything is going just fine. So that is going to do it for this one. Sorry about the glitches down the stretch, but we will get that sorted. I think it was just Discord having a dump. But Merry Christmas to everybody. Get out there, do some racing. Tomorrow we'll be doing the Preach-In races starting at 2 o'clock. And should have some good racing entertainment going on over the weekend. You get out there, have some fun yourself. That's going to do it for this one, though. This is the Simpit. I'm Shaun Cole, and I'll see you on the track.